So paranoid and secluded was the legendary billionaire Howard Hughes at the end of his life that the rumours seemed right out of a Stephen King novel. His hair was down to his waist. His fingernails had grown so long they curled back. He was white, paper-thin and bug-eyed. How accurate those rumours were, we may never know. But an unusual insight into Hughes' last days comes from his widow. And her information, she says, comes from the spirit world.
Hughes died in 1976 at the age of 70. He remains the most legendary aviator and tycoon of the 20th century. He turned unknowns into movie queens like Lana Turner, lavished gifts and his affection on countless Hollywood stars, broke global flight records, and gave the world its biggest airplane, the Spruce Goose. Yet in the final decades of his life, Hughes disappeared from view, and many suspected from reality. He became the world's most famous hermit, holed up in his Las Vegas hotel penthouse, surrounded by an impenetrable phalanx of aides and security guards. It is this final period, ending in his death as an emaciated, malnourished old man, that has remained a dark mystery, perhaps until now. A new book is about to be published in the U.S. by one-time actress Terry Moore, who remains his official widow since a court ruled that she was indeed secretly married to Hughes for 8 years. The book is called Murder by Neglect.
People wonder, and they should, how a billionaire could die of malnutrition and dehydration when every form of medicine was at his fingertips. But as I always said, Howard became a prisoner of his own guards.
It is Moore's second book about Howard Hughes. The first was called The Beauty and the Billionaire. But this one is different. Hughes, she says, dictated every word from the grave, chapters about people she never knew, never met.
There's no way that it could be me writing the book, because if you read the style on my book, telling it from a young girl's viewpoint, it was completely different. Howard was compelling me, imploring me, begging me to write the story, his story, what really happened, what he believed that happened to him, that he was murdered by neglect. Howard would come to me in dreams, and it was very, very clear of what he felt happened. And he was very dramatic, very incensed. And it was like he couldn't rest until his story had been told. Often when I would sit at a typewriter, it just seemed like my hands would fly over the keys. Names came back to me that I'd completely forgotten if I'd ever known before. And when I would do research, I would find those names and those people, and even people that he knew before I knew him.
The story Moore tells, or Hughes tells, is of a lonely old man with $26 billion, surrounded by men who wanted control, cut off from relatives, friends, and the outside world.
The sad part is that Howard never knew that his friends were trying to reach him. Cary Grant and many of his friends were calling all the time, and they were told that Howard thanked them for their calls, but that could not talk to them at this time. He thought that nobody cared in the end. He had no idea that he did have other friends and other people who loved him and liked him and would have done anything to have helped him. He said that he was being held prisoner right up until the time he died. He told me that he was not allowed to make any phone calls. He was told that people were after him, that there was no way that he could break away.
And finally, in one of his last conversations from the beyond, Moore says Howard gave her the order.
Howard said to me, "Terry, I want you to write this book.
Why?
Because I can never rest until the true story is brought out.